Hello everyone, welcome to Brenda's Brushstrokes and Bisque painting live on Sunday, March 23rd at 7 p.m. And looks like something changed here on Facebook because it's not looking like it normally does. So that's not me. So I'm trying to get it so I can see it on my phone and on the tablet so I can answer you guys' questions, but I don't know, seems like something's different here. All right. So actually I had no idea what I was going to do today, but we're going to start with a dry brushing piece that I actually finished at the shop yesterday because it was slow shop hours. And so I don't have that piece here because I didn't know that's what I was going to paint. I went down in my basement and I had the same rock down there. And so I think this is a good piece because it's wildlife and it has eyes. And so I did post the picture with it. And hopefully our internet is going to cooperate because the last 2 times I wanted to go live, I had internet trouble. So I don't see that anybody is even on here. Can you guys hear me, I guess, first of all? Can anybody hear me? It says was live. I'm still live. Oh my goodness. Why does it say was live? Watch the video. Can anybody hear me? So something's different with this. I don't know why it's like this, but... So it looks like there's 2 people watching, maybe. I don't know. Can anybody hear me? Talk about frustrating. Okay, Becky says yes. Okay, well, I don't know what Facebook's doing here. Mark says yes, so I guess we're going to go with it. I don't know why I can't see the comments on this phone. Apparently they've changed it, so that's not my video. I don't want to see that. I don't know why I can't see the comments. All right, well, hopefully I can see them on the tablet. So I have a tablet up and a phone up, but that tablet is not showing your comments. All right, so we got some yeses and says I'm still live, so I guess we're just going to see what we can do here. I don't know why this isn't showing them like normally. I'm guessing Facebook is changing some things here again. I know that they have made that live videos are deleted after edit the story privacy. There's no privacy. Why is it doing that? So they're deleting videos after 30 days. And so what I'm doing is downloading them into my onto my computer, and then I don't know what we're going to do with them after that point. We are going to possibly be putting them on YouTube. For sure these live ones, the free ones, will be on YouTube. Okay, so this is so we'll do about an hour tonight, and then we will do this. It'll probably take about 3 times to do this guy. So with dry brushing is just a technique that was created to make things look more, I would say, more realistic with more shading. And I will try to watch your comments on the phone that's above my head, but that's going to be a little bit hard to do because like there's no comments on the tablet. Like they've made it so hard. Maybe someone there shared, so there's nothing up there yet. And you guys have commented, so I don't know where they are. Comments, come on, I know there's comments because you guys are on the phone. Okay, well, I guess we'll see. So dry brushing is a technique that has a lot of shading. A lot of people will think that it's only done with black, your base coating, but I tend to base coat with different colors. Lots of times I will do my wildlife with black, but I will do like pastel colors. something that's going to be in pastels. I'm going to see if I can get out of the tablet here and go back in. My pastel colors I will do with more of a brown base coat, and it depends how light of a pastel. Oh, there we had comments for a second. All right. Okay, so I think I got the tablet so I can see your comments. So wildlife I tend to do with black. Animals with black, not just wildlife, but like dogs and cats. But if it would be a gray cat, I might use like a dark charcoal. If it's Easter, like say bunnies or eggs or ducks or something, I might use more of a dark brown or like a dark charcoal versus the black, so that they have a softer look to them. So that's why it's not always black. So even though many people think that it's always black, it's not always black. Why the live chat keeps going away on here. Okay, so we have our, this is a mold made by Kinzie. Sharon Kinzie was a lady that they did a lot of wildlife stuff. She has passed away. You can't purchase these molds, order them new anymore, as far as I'm aware of. If anyone's aware of it, let me know. But they were rocks, jugs, vases, were a lot of her items. And so I do have a lot of them. We were able to get a lot at our last mold dig that we did, and they're in great condition. So this piece, I believe, is on my website, Brenda's Brushstrokes and Bisque. So if you would want to get it and like follow along, I'm just going to try to get it on this phone one more time so I can see your messages. I don't know why it's doing like that. Okay, well, anyway. So we're going to start with black. So I normally use all Dunkin' paints because that's what my subscribers use. So OS476 black. This is an acrylic, opaque acrylic. Sometimes, depending upon the manufacturer, they may call it a stain or an acrylic paint. But they're both pretty much the same. And so I just squeeze a nice big old puddle out here on my... I just use foil so that I can roll it up and throw it out. Trying to see if I can get comments back here, but of course not. Come on. Talk about hard. All right, so then when you're base coating, you want to use a nylon painting brush. So I do have my own brand, Brenda's Brushstrokes and Bisque, or Brenda's Brushstrokes is the brushes, but you can get other brands. So you want to use a nylon one for base coating. When you're dry brushing, you're going to want to use a boar bristle brush, and those are going to be a little bit stiffer. So this is just a nylon brush. This is a size round 5, and I'm just going to dip it into my water first to condition my brush so that I don't, that will help keeping the paint out of the center of your bristles and drying up in there. And then I have my black on the foil here. Not sure if you guys can see that or not. And so the thing is, base coating is actually very important. And so you want to make sure that it is base coated really well and that you have all your areas covered with black, because you don't want any little white spots or fleas. And so I dip into my paint and brush back and forth. So now my fur is kind of going up and down on my wolf here, so I will go up and down. So now there is a lot of texture on this piece. So what you can do is dip into the water. Bring this over here. So I'm just going to dip in there and get a little bit of water on there, dip into my paint, and then come to my piece. And it thins it enough that it flows into those crevices really nice, so that you don't have to do a lot of pouncing. And it fills in so you don't have those little white fleas, because believe it or not, that little bitty tiny white spot there, once you get to dry brushing, that is going to stick out like a sore thumb or like a match in the forest. And so you don't want that. And so now when I put my paint on here, I want to brush it out nice and smooth. I don't want to just put it on there and have big puddles, because that's going to dry. That puddle will dry as a puddle. And when you're dry brushing, that is going to catch on there, and you're going to have highlighting done there that you don't want done there. So you really want to brush that out really nice. Get rid of any puddles, lakes, and rivers, ridges. Just brush it out nice and smooth. And it's really a really important part of the beginning of your piece. And so you want to have a really good base coat, because if you have puddles and ridges and you're dry brushing and your dry brush is catching on those as if they were texture, you're not going to like the way your piece looks. So I try to stress base coating is really, really important. A lot of people just slop it on there any old way, but you really do want to take your time and brush it on there really nice and do a really nice job, because it's like the beginning. Just like when you're building a house, you want to have a good brick surface. You don't want to, or a base, you don't want to start with a sand blocks. You want to have concrete blocks. And so that's how important our base coating is, that we have a really good, well covered, thoroughly covered base coat that's been brushed out, and no riddles, rivers and puddles and all that. So you can see I'm brushing over it. And as this dries, now you can see this is dried and it kind of self-leveled, and you really don't even see brush marks there. So it's really important to have a really good base coat on your pieces. And like I said, I don't always use black. It really depends upon the piece. But for animals, wildlife, things that I do want black down in the crevices. So what you want to think about is what's down in those crevices, as to what color you want in those crevices, and then that will be your base coat color. So I'll use anywhere from navy to charcoal, to black brown, or even a lighter brown like saddle brown. It really depends upon the piece and the result that you want. But black in general does work really well for animals. So if that's something you're wondering. And then you do want to use, why do you not use a bigger brush? This is the one that I grabbed, and I want to have a bigger, I just want to have a nice base coat on it. You could use a bigger brush if you wanted to. And so we're just brushing back and forth. I don't like to get too big of a brush, because then you get those puddles of paint and you don't get them brushed out, and then you end up with your dry brushing catches on that paint that you don't get brushed out. So you got to use whatever size brush works for you. So normally I probably would have grabbed a little bit bigger one, but the internet was kind of giving me a headache here, and so it's just been kind of a slow, tough year here for me already this year. So every time I turn around, there's something going wrong, it seems like. So we're just going to go with the brush that we have. So, like I said, Facebook is deleting live videos after 30 days. Like, that's a new policy they have. So it won't be just mine. It's going to be any live video that anybody's doing. And so I'll download it, actually, this video, to my computer tonight. And then I will upload it to YouTube. And so that will be how you guys will have to, like, if you missed tonight and say you want to watch it in a month from now, you'll have to go to YouTube, because Facebook, they're not storing anybody's live videos anymore. And I don't know what other people are doing. Like, I haven't had time to check in with people and whatnot, but I know there's other people that do live videos too, and so I'm not the only one. But for now, the free live classes will end up over on YouTube, and it's under Brenda's Brushstrokes and Bisque, just like my Facebook page and my web page. So that should make it easy for you guys to find. Okay. And so I kind of worked my way from the top down, and now I did see a little white spot up there, so I went back and grabbed it. But you can see by brushing that out really nice, we have a nice smooth surface, and so that our dry brushing will catch on the texture on our piece instead of the texture of our painting if we're not painting out our paint really good. So I'm just brushing back and forth. I'm just using black acrylic. I do use the Duncan or the Mako paints. Now Mako is discontinuing their line, and they're saving about 10 of them, and they will be labeling them with the Duncan label. And so we'll just be carrying the Duncan brand at that point, although I do still have some of the Makos online. And so there'll just be the Duncan line. Now I did add the fashion hues to my website last month, so those are on there. I haven't added much bisque in the last month because my dad passed away here in February, so it's been kind of a tough month to get caught up with the subscription box and pouring and get back on track. And then my car was totaled out before that because someone rear-ended me. So it's been kind of a rough going here. But I'm slowly getting it. But there's just a lot to get caught up, because once you get a couple days behind with pouring and stuff, it just snowballs. And we've had some kind of crazy weather here, like it's March now, but we're actually in a winter storm warning today. So we're getting snow and ice, which is why I canceled the live sale, because I didn't want my daughter to be driving from Appleton. The drive here would have been okay, but the drive going back home wouldn't have been okay. So it wasn't worth her driving in. So we will have a live sale again. Just not sure on the exact date yet, but it's coming. But if you want to shop, you can go on Brenda's Brushstrokes and Bisque.com. A lot of the stuff that was going to be in the sale is already on there. So, all right, so we're just getting our black, and I did flip it around here now just so it stays in the screen. But you can see as it dries, those little white fleas, and that's what we call them at the shop, fleas, because they are as pesty as fleas. You just got to keep going back. Like right there's one. You just got to keep going back and touching them up. And you may not want to, but it's really important that you do, because once you get to dry brushing, they're going to be there, and they're going to really, really stick out. All right, so has anybody done this piece before? And I do believe there are some of these on the website. I haven't looked to be sure, because like I said, I wasn't sure what I was going to paint tonight. This was just kind of I went down in the basement to see what I had down there that we could work on. And I thought, well, I just finished that. And so I think it's a good piece because it is going to have the animal eyes on it. And so that's always something that people struggle with. And so it should be a good piece. And then we have the background, the rock on the backside, the fur, all these little dainty branches that are in the way for dry brushing, and I'll show you how I deal with those. The piece, I actually did it yesterday at the shop, and it was looking kind of ugly. I was doing both wolves in like white and gray, and then the tree as a birch tree, and it just didn't look good at all. So I kind of changed the colors to the browns. And so you can see the picture. I posted a posting about it, of what we were going to be painting. So it'll probably take about 3 classes, so it's going to be not a fast class. We'll do about an hour each of our free Sundays. But it's just a good dry brushing piece. We got texture and we have smooth surface, so the back is fairly smooth. And so we'll show you that you can dry brush on a smooth surface, even though a lot of people think that you can't. You can. Just takes a little more patience. All right, so I'm just brushing this out really, really well. And then we're going to brush our sides. And then we'll actually start, I will finish the back later, but I just wanted to get the front done here, and then we will start dry brushing because we're only going to do like an hour. And then I will catch the back up later because it's just a plain solid back. But I just want to get the side here a little bit. So you can see it's just a solid back. So you could put another design on the back of here if you wanted. Like you could put, say you did a Easter decoupage or something, and then you could flip it around for Easter. And then when the Easter holiday is over, flip it around for back to your wolves. So I do have a lot of these rocks and vases and jugs. They are on the website, brendasbrushstrokesandbisque.com. So you guys can go there and shop those too. If you're a subscriber for the Bisque box, you would get free shipping. Just use store pickup that's for subscribers only. And then it'll ship in your April box. If anyone wants to subscribe, I do have a few openings because I did have a couple people drop here for April. A couple people with health issues and whatnot. So, all right. So you also want to get the bottom of your piece whenever you're doing a piece. You want that to look nice. So when someone picks it up and looks at your work, you want to have your bottom looking as good as the rest of it, even if it's just with your base coat color. Okay. And so I'm just going to do that, like the front half of it here. All right, so now I want to look at my piece because it's drying, and now I can see there are some little white spots here popping up, and that's just what those do. They're just like fleas. If anyone ever had animals with fleas, like they're really hard to get rid of, and that's kind of what these little white, they're like as small as a grain of salt, I guess you could say. And so, see, you just want to get rid of them because they're really going to stick out. And again, I'm just using a nylon brush for this part of it, for our base coating. You could use a little bit bigger brush if you wanted to. This is just the one that I grabbed. And then I will get our back black before our next class. But that way we can get started with our dry brushing. And so while this is drying and I'm getting the last of our little white spots as stuff dries here. So a lot of people don't know, so they get their piece base coated and they say to themselves, okay, what do I start with now? So that's kind of when I look at a piece, and I don't know what other people do, but this is everything that I'm telling you is based on what I do, and there's more than one way to skin a cat, and so there's more than one way to dry brush as well, or anything else that we do. So you have to do what works for you. So what works for me, and I've been doing ceramics since 1981, so quite a few years. And so what I've learned that works for me, and I'm still looking for these little white spots because the little buggers keep popping up. And you want to look at your piece from different angles. So now I'm looking at it from the down side, and now the back side or the bottom side of my branches have some white spots. So you want to spin that thing around and look at it from every angle to make sure you have all of them little white spots covered up, and you have a solid black coverage. And you want it to be a nice even solid black. You don't want to have it where you can see white through it. All right, so we have that. Oh, so see right there is a little bit. They're just like fleas. They just like keep popping up. But once you get it all, that is good. We should be good to go now. So I'm going to wash my brush out. So to wash your brush out, you can have Harold's brush pad and brush back and forth on the bottom of your, gently on the bottom of your water bowl. And then I don't have one in here right now, but usually I do. So you can see that, and that will clean your brush out good, you want to pat your brush, and then you want to groom it to a point. Now this brush will need to get washed out again when I'm done. I can see there's still a little bit, but I like to pat them dry and then groom them to a point, and then you want to lay them horizontally to dry while we're finishing working on our piece, and then I'll wash them all out really good at the sink. All right, so now when I look at this piece, it's like, okay, where do I start? Make sure we don't have any white stuff here. So it's kind of like when you're getting dressed in the morning, you put on your underwear first, and now I see a couple of white spots popping up here, so we're going to have to get them. There's one. It's kind of like you start from the lowest. So what I do is I start from the lowest area. I'm just getting these black spots again, the white spots. So I look at my piece and I look for my lowest area. So my lowest area on here is going to be the background. Then my wolves are next because they're underneath the branches. And then the branches are on top. So there's only really 3 layers to this piece, which would be our background because it's lower than the wolf. And then our wolves, which are lower than our branches. So that is the way that I will work on this piece. I will start with the background, because if I start with the branches first, when I go to the wolves, my wolf color is going to get on my branches. And when I go to the background, my background color will get onto my wolves. And so I want to start with the lowest area first. And I want a night sky, so I want navy. And let's see, do we have navy up here? We may not. I may have to grab it out of the tub here. Just give me a second. I was mixing slip before we came on so that would get done. All right, so I want a nice dark background. Oh, no, my phone went out. And so we want navy. I'm going to use navy. Okay. And so I'm using our Duncan OS 460. You want to shake that up really good. And then again, I'm just going to put that on my foil. And so you start, usually with dry brushing, you start with your darkest colors and work to your lightest colors. So I'm just going to put some navy on here, and it's going to take quite a bit. All right. And then I'm going to pick a dry brush. So when you're picking dry brushes, we have rounds, we have flats, we have, let me see, 1, 3s, and 5s basically is what I stick to for the most part. 1, 3, and 5, and then we have round 1. Oh, where's my 3s and my 5s? 3, and then we need a 1. And a 1. Okay, so round brushes come as flats and rounds. And so these are the Royal and Langnickel, the majestic ones. And I have these on my website. And I do need to update the flats because I do have more of them. And I'll try to remember to do that after class tonight. So these are the round. You can see that they're round, and these are the flat. These are flat. So this is our larger size is 5. Then we have 3 and 1. So those are the popular ones that I carry because they're what I use for the most part. And then my favorite ones are actually the flats, because you can turn them and use them the skinny way, or you can use them the wide way. Now we have little dainty areas with this. We have some big areas. So I'm actually going to go with this middle one. So you wouldn't want to have a great big brush trying to go into these little areas, because you would get your navy all over. So you want to use something, you can see that fits that area better than that big old brush. You would have your navy everywhere. So you kind of want to pick the brush for the job, which is kind of like with our base coating. I could have went with a size larger one than I did. All right, so then I have some paper towel. And what I want to do is go into my navy, get just a little bit, come over here and brush on my paper towel. And when you're first starting, you got to do it a few times to get it really into your brush. And that paper towel's wet, so let's get a new one. You can use paper towel, paper bags, whatever, coffee filters, whatever you use. Some people use a piece of denim. All right, so I go into my navy, and you want to brush, and I like to do an X because that kind of gets the paint off the sides. You don't want to stab and dab. Some people will stab it. I call it stabbing and dabbing. That does not get the paint of the brush. You actually want to brush. You want a fairly dry brush. And so you don't need to put a lot of paint in your brush. And so now I'm just going to start in one area. And now our background is flat, but normally when you're dry brushing, like the fur has a texture going this way, you would go across it. But because our background is flat, I'm just going to go back and forth. So I'm just going to go back and forth, and you'll get a very light coverage of the blue on there. And I just go and grab a little bit and brush it out. And then, so we have our blue into there. We need a little bit down here, and then that's fur over there. And I'm because I want it to be the sky, I'm actually going to go horizontal with it instead of vertical for the most part. And it's okay if you get some of it on your wolves and your tree branches. That's not going to hurt anything. But we're just going to brush. Let me turn it so you can see it. Brush back and forth. So I started in one area, and I'm going to work my way up. I'm not going to stay in this one area and finish this to the complete. I'm going to put one light coat on there, work my way up, let that dry, because then I can come back and put another layer on it. Otherwise, it's going to get wet and shiny, and you're going to have too much paint on it. So like, it's better to work like a really light coat, a bunch of light coats, versus one or two heavy coats. That would be more of a wet brushing. We're actually doing more of a dry brushing. And so now I kind of worked my way all the way up here. And I just keep grabbing a little bit of paint and brushing it out. And then I'm only going to go to the edge of my rocks, because I'm going to make the rocks in the back be more gray and brown rock looking. And so we're doing our deepest area, which would be our background. So that would be like putting your underwear on. And then like your wolf would be like putting your clothes. That would be your next layer. And then our tree is like putting your jacket on. So you kind of want to think about it. I kind of explain it like that because I think that's kind of the best way to think about it. That you're how to attack your piece, because a lot of people they get it base coated and then they look at me at the shop like, okay, now what do I do? And so you want to analyze your piece and look at it like, where do I start? So I tend to look at that lowest area, and a lot of times that lowest area is going to be your skin, your flesh colors, your backgrounds. All right, and we're just putting one nice layer on it. So you can see there's just a little bit of blue. It's looking pretty streaky yet, but that's okay. Now we got to come over here and work in between our little branches. And so I can turn that brush on its edge or side to get down into those crevices more and work in there instead of using the whole width of it and getting the whole branch full. But if we get some on the branch, it's not a big deal. We're going to come back and have to touch those up. Now I just stuck my arm in the paint, you guys. Got a whole armful. Trying to have it like, they don't do the wide view on Facebook anymore either that I know how to do. And so we have the narrow view, so it makes it harder to show you guys everything in the screen. All right, so this is all blue. So we'll get this with our navy, just a nice, and I'm just brushing back and forth. And these first layers, your first dark colors take a lot of brushing. Like it can take 5, 6, 7, 8 layers of brushing your color on. Once you get to the lighter colors, you're brushing a lot lighter with your brush, and they're going on more noticeable. So it will take less layers of your highlighting colors. They'll be more noticeable than your dark colors because we have the black that we're trying to get our shading onto. And so the idea of the black is we're So I'm going, actually we do have texture here. So like we have our branch here. So I don't want to go with my branch because then I'm going to lose my black that's between my branch and my background. So there's just a little bit of black right there and we want to keep that. So to keep that, I have to go across my branches, which once we get to the fur on our wolf, our fur texture is going this way. So we will go across it. We don't want to go with it because if we go with it, just like if we go with the branch up here, we're going to lose the black. And we want to keep that black because that's our shading that the black is going to give us. All right, so we're going to keep going. Same thing here when we come across our wolf. We can go right across his little ear here because we're going to save, that's going to save this black down in this crevice for our shading. So you do want to kind of watch, even though this is smooth, we got to watch the areas around it. So now I have this branch here, so I'm going to kind of go this way with it because our branch is going at an angle so that I don't lose my black next to my branch. All right, so we kind of got that all done. All right, so now we have, and then this is going to be rock, so we're only going to have it like this first layer. So we're just going to keep going here. And so all this is drying while we're doing this, and when we come back with the dry brush, it's going to take the paint a lot easier. So I have my hand inside it, so that's where this dust is coming from. All right, so we're just going to go over our wolf fur here again and come right down along the side. Now there's not much here, but we do want to get it. And you can have this you can decide if you want this to be blue or if you want it to be black. I'm probably going to let it be the rock color, so I'll just leave it at that point there. There's a little bit of blue in this little notch right there. All right, so we basically have our whole background started with our blue, and now we're just gonna keep going. So I put a little on my brush, and now I'm going to start right back over here and just build it back, build it more so that it's more another layer or two. So we have a nice solid nighttime, midnight sky. And if you wanted your sky to be lighter, like you could just go to medium blue and baby blue next. I kind of liked the midnight one, so I'm going to probably leave it at the midnight with the midnight look. All right, so we're just going to keep working our way. Dry brushing is not a fast process at all. It's a slow process, so now when you're wet and shiny, you want to brush your brush out because that's a little too much paint in your brush. I'm trying to make sure there's no glare so you guys can see. And again, I'm just brushing back and forth. I'm trying to keep it kind of horizontal so that it looks like like the night sky. It'll have some darkness, and we'll actually put a little bit of the lighter blue in there too. But now you can see that this area is looking bluer than this area because we have our second layer on. And so it's really important to only use a little bit of paint and then to brush it out on your paper towel. And then another thing is you want to use the tip of these brushes. You don't want to be using the sides. If you use the sides, your paint could have built up if you didn't kind of lay your brush down to brush it. The paint tends to build up on the side. So if you're brushing on the sides, you could end up with a whole bunch of wet paint on your piece. So you want to be using the tip of those bristles. It's really important I found, to use the tip of the bristles and not the sides of the brush. So we're going to brush back and forth. And so this is where now we're going to have to get in by the first tooth there, because there's some sky behind that. But you just want to take your time. It's really about patience and time when it comes to dry brushing, and not rushing it. All right, so I'm going to flip him around so you guys can maybe see a little bit better. So that was a little wet. I want to brush that out. And we just brush. I don't always just brush back and forth. It just happens that that worked really well for the sky part of this thing. So it's going to kind of depend upon your piece, your texture, your grooves. So you can see, like, now this whole area is a lot darker than this already. So it's even though it's slow, it's a great process. And I kind of like the navy for the sky instead of just a black sky. Now that's a little wet. I got to brush that out. It's okay that I'm getting it on my wolf's fur. That's not hurting anything. And then I'm going right to the edge of my rock here. Anyone have any questions about dry brushing? You could also chalk a piece like this. You could do the fashion hues on a piece like this. There's tons of things you could do. You could paint it all black and do like a metallic silver or bronze. I use the gelding paste. It's a furniture metallic rub-on, and it would look more like a piece of metal. So you can do different things besides dry brushing it. You could also paint it and then antique it. So there's different ways of doing every piece. The dry brushing is just kind of really popular because you get lots of nice shading from when you're doing it. It's kind of boring when we first start out, because like we're just putting on layers and layers of this blue background. But once we could get past the blue, it kind of moves along a little bit faster. And then I like, because I want a sky, I want to keep it horizontal. I don't want to get too much angled with my brush strokes, so that it looks like my sky is horizontal. So then we'll come over here and just keep working our way around. Now over here we do have the branches, so you may have to change your direction a little bit. But if you get good coverage, you should still have pretty much horizontal looking sky. And don't worry about getting it on the branches, because we will, the brown will touch them up, or if you have to, you can come back and touch them up with the black. So now we have this little ear here, so we kind of want to get down in there just a little bit. But we don't want to lose our black that's in there, because like that would be shaded more also. So a little wet and shiny, brush out our brush. Right, let's flip him around here. And we just keep going. Again, a little wet. Anytime it's wet and shiny, like that's what I call that, wet and shiny. It looks wet and shiny. I just brush that brush out a little bit more and then come back, because that's usually too much paint in the brush. So I can show you when I go to grab the paint. So I have this puddle, and I probably have way too much. I'm only getting a little. I don't go in there and scoop up all kinds of paint. I just grab a little bit, and usually I'll brush it a couple times, and you can see that went from being blue to, you can see the foil through it. and then brush on there just a couple times. So that's kind of how I load my brush. Put it over here again. So I kind of grab just the edge of it, brush a couple times, brush on my paper towel. So I don't go in that big puddle and get all kinds of paint, because then you're just wasting all your paint. I probably only needed half of what I put out the way it looks. We kind of overuse our paint and waste it, actually, when it comes to dry brushing. So little is better when it comes to dry brushing. Less is better. All right, so we have one whole layer again. So you can see it's looking pretty good, but even though it's blue, like there's streaks of black in there, it's not real even yet, so I would do a whole nother coat yet. So again, I'm going to bring this paint over here so you can see it. I'm not going in there and scooping up a bunch of paint like I'm base coating it. I'm just going on the edge, drawing a little bit back, and then brushing it out. And then again, I just start where I started and get another layer on there. I think this guy will take probably 3 times. We'll do, this eye is shut, so that one's pretty easy, but this one's open, and so it'll be a good eye class for like animal eyes. So I did turn my brush on its edge just to get in those little divots there, because we want some black in there, but we don't want too much black either. All right, so we just keep brushing back and forth. So this is just, again, it's just called dry brushing. It's very popular. You can do it on tons of things. You can glaze part of something and then you could dry brush something. Like I have a mermaid. I'm thinking about glazing her from the waist down and then firing it and then like dry brushing her from the waist up so that she looks more natural with her skin and face and hair. So you can mix dry brushing and glazing together as well. You just have to like do your glaze firing first and then butt them up to each other. All right, so let's get a little more in there. So you can see our paint, this is like our third coat, and it's looking pretty good. All right, so let's flip him around again. So I can see it's a little, probably need a little more blue in there, a little bit closer to his chin. So no questions from anyone? You guys can ask anything. Again, I'm just going into all of my little crevices. So see why I wouldn't want to have done my trees first, like they would be all full of blue if I had done my tree branches first and then come back and did my my background. So that's why I like to look at a piece and look for that deepest area. You do want good brushes. Good brushes will make your dry brushing easier. So will good quality paints like the Makos and the Duncan. You can dry brush with the cheaper brands. They do work, but you may find them a little bit more frustrating, I think. They don't have as much color pigment in them as what the ceramic paints do. So there is a difference, but you certainly can dry brush with them. I've certainly used them if I couldn't find a certain color, like the Minnesota Vikings color is one of those colors that you can't get in the ceramic colors, and I'll get that with the other ones, but it'll take 5 or 6 coats just of base coating to get it to cover, but you can do it. And then good brushes are also key. So you want to have good boar bristle brushes. And that will save you a lot of frustration, believe it or not. So usually, like if you're new to ceramics, you're gonna want a couple of brushes for base coating. That would be your nylon, probably a 5 and an 8. And then you're going to want a nice liner like a 10-0 or a 5-0 liner for doing fine lines. And then you're going to want like a 1, 3, and 5 dry brush for dry brushing. So like you don't need a ton of brushes to get started either. You just need a little arsenal, but you do need some. And I do have brushes on my website, and I carry that stuff all the time. I try to keep it in stock because I know there's not a lot of places to get this stuff anymore. So, all right, so I'm coming around this side. Now we got that little V in there, so we want to get in there. But you can see it's letting the black kind of outline our piece, so that's giving us our shading on our piece. I like Donna brushes when I dry brush. Yep, I do have the Donna brushes at the shop. I haven't had them on the web page. I had dry brushes made here a year ago, but I wasn't happy with them, and so they remade them, and I just need to come up with a bunch of dollars to have them remade. So hopefully I can get them remade. And they were with the short handles too. I really do like the short handled brushes, and so I just wasn't happy. They were made. I had them made by Silver Falcon, but they weren't lasting like I wanted them to last for dry brushing, and so they did remake them. I just haven't had the money to get those remade with the new ones, but hopefully in the future we can. All right, so I noticed we got a little bit of black kind of coming right through the middle here, and so so that's a little shiny. So I want to just come back and touch that up. And we can have a little bit of black coming through our night sky, like that's okay, just because it is a night sky. But if you weren't doing like a night sky, it's going to depend how much coverage you want on your background. But it usually takes 3, 4, 5, 6 coats of this first color after your black, so that you have a really good coverage. All right, so that's looking pretty good, I think. It's looking pretty even. So you want to look that it's even. It's not streaky. You have good coverage. Because if this is streaky and patchy, you would end up with, when you go to your next color, it would also be streaky and patchy and lighter in some areas than others. So you really want to have a nice even coat of this first color that's going down. And so we're getting a nice even color. And I'm okay if I have a few little streaks in this, just because it is like the night sky. And so that would be okay to have some little extra streaks in there. But overall, you want your first color after your black to have really nice even coverage. All right, so do you do fashion hues? Yep, I'm actually certified to do fashion hues. And so I have the Brenda's Bisque box, and we've done it in there. Usually once or twice a year we use the products in there as well. They're available on my webpage, and I could probably squeeze in, maybe after we get this piece, we'll do a fashion hues piece. All right, so our class on Sunday is usually only about an hour, so we're at a really good stopping point with this guy. So anyone else have any other questions? So we got a nice start on him, and he should be on my webpage, Brenda's Brushstrokes and Bisque, if anyone wants to go and buy him and have him shipped. If you guys want to follow along and paint along, because we'll do two more months of this guy. We'll do next month, and then the following. It should just take 3 classes, I think, so we should be okay. It'll go pretty fast because I've already painted the one, I already kind of know the colors and stuff. It's makes it a little bit easier when you've already painted one. So that is kind of our little dry brushing beginning step 1 for tonight. And then I think it's the third Sunday of every month I have it scheduled. Now, last Sunday I forgot just because there's been so much going on here. But hopefully things settle down a little more and everything gets back on track. But we will start with our wolves next week. I will get the back, or not next week, next month. I will get the back done with the black, and then we will catch up with that too. But we should be able to start with the wolves next month, which should be the third Sunday, I believe. They're all on the third Sunday, but we have Easter in there, so it may be a different day. But it's all in all the events. Can we see the other side? Yep, it's just white yet. I didn't do the black to save time, so I will do the black before our next class in April. So it's just a quick little dry brushing lesson, kind of a three-parter. So if anybody has any questions, you guys can always message me. Subscribers, if you want the piece, just use store pickup so you get free shipping. And I will check and see how many are on the webpage. And if I need to pull the mold, I will pull the mold. So I do have the molds. I pour, clean, and fire everything that is available on the website and at the shop other than our stoneware. But will be pouring our stoneware too. I just haven't had time. I have the stoneware slip. I just haven't had time to do it. So this is our wolf that we're going to be dry brushing because I have a bunch of wolves at the shop and no one has been really buying them. But I think it's because we don't have a sample. And so I did a sample yesterday and this guy was down in the basement today when I went down there to see what our class was going to be. And so we're going to dry brush, and then I will look at fashion hues as our next class after this piece is done. So thanks you guys for joining me, and this will end up on YouTube because Facebook will be deleting it after 30 days. And so look forward to it on YouTube if you need to refer to it too. So, all right, thanks you guys. We will see you in a month for your next free class. Thanks for joining me. Bye, everyone.